What I got is a 2010 Toyota Sequoia with a 4.6 rear wheel drive, and we are working on changing the rack bushings. So I figured out a way you can change these rack bushings without removing the rack, and actually without even pulling the steering shaft off. It might be a little easier if you did that. I didn't. So here's one of the bushings here. You'll need an air hammer to get these things out, especially with the tight quarters we have here. So start off, we have a bolt here and a bolt here. Those are the only two bolts holding the rack in. I got them out. You'll have a washer that sits right up on the top, right up here, the very top there. So there's a clamp here for your hose. Pull that 12mm bolt out. There's one on each side. There's one over here too. That'll get your hoses loose. So your rack and your hoses will be loose at this point. You decide to take your steering shaft off, just have to pull out this 12mm bolt here. Make sure you mark that shaft and then wiggle it right off. Now, to get the bottom ones out, pretty much have to just get this pried up high enough to get to the bottom of those bushings there. Now mine are already out. It's pretty much just a trick. I'm trying to get everything in and around. Got this air hammer, this curved attachment. I got the short ends. You might get short and long ones. It depends on how determined you are to make this thing work. So able to get up under here, just pop it right there, work around. The bottom ones aren't too hard. The top one is a lot more tricky. To get at this top one, you gotta get your air hammer up in this spot and up here like that. Have the air hose disconnected so you can see maybe it with one less thing out of the way. Get that in there. It's a trick. Pop that a few times. Get down at this angle. Push it up. And you have just barely enough room to get that bushing to pop up out of there. Not too much extra room. On the passenger side, you just shove this rack forward as much as you can. Get your air hammer out here. Pop it right in here. Hit on it until that bushing pops right out of there. It'll take some work, but you can get it to come out. There is just enough room to shove up on here to get that bushing to come out. Top side is a little more tricky. Gotta get in all sorts of different positions to get at that one. Have to shove that rack further back. And then your air hammer will fit up here. Come down right in there. You can get it just like that. And that angled end does help. You can kind of get at it, the rack, and move it around at different angles. Now the trick, this is the biggest trick, which I don't know if it'll work for you or not, but this pipe right here, for me, there was just enough wiggle in this bushing that it popped out through there. I think it kind of got cocked to the side a little bit, and that gave it just enough room to pop out of there. You might have to take that off. The kit I have with the bushings came with a little cap. You can disconnect this fitting right there, plug your hose. I didn't have to do it yet, but we'll see. I think once the bushing came up and touched right in there, I came at it from this angle to push it away from that pipe, kind of right in there, and it tipped it out and away, kind of like that. Hopefully that gives you some idea. Came right out. Just in case you couldn't see it very well underneath the car, the idea is with this bushing inside of the rack, you come in with your air hammer, get right at this edge, and it pops that up. I'll show you. Like on this spot right here, hit that right there, and it pushed its way underneath and popped that thing right out. Some of these took a little more work than others. This one took a lot of work. Now this was the passenger's top, and I had to go on the inside and push on it a bit. I ended up getting right in there and pressing that out. If you don't have to, I don't know that I would. I had to sand the inside of the rack because it got a little dinged up, or at least I did. Make everything go back together smoother. But these came out surprisingly easy. I could not have done it without an air hammer though. This one I got from Harbor Freight. I don't use an air hammer a whole lot. It's their medium barrel air hammer. Wasn't too expensive. And then along with the short ends, could have got some long ones, and maybe in some spots it would be helpful. For me, it didn't have too much of a problem. I was able to get everything done. Now this is also a two-wheel drive. With a four-wheel drive, I'd probably still try it, but who knows, it may work, may not. Depends on how much room you have underneath there. So give it a shot and tell me how it works. So for putting in the new bushings, first put gloves on. These bushings from Energy Suspension, the grease they give you with these, it is so sticky. You just don't want to mess with trying to clean that off. I'm going to show you it dry, because having my hands full is a little tricky. So you get these, push it right up in there. The grease will help it slide up in there. Then you'll have a sleeve goes up in there, and then there'll be a washer that goes in there finally. You can't see that. Goes like that. Tab to the inside. So in the end, you'll have something like this pushed all together up inside of there. Same with the top. Comes down from the top. Do that to both sides. Alright, so the only real tricky one was the bottom driver's side. You can see I finally got that in. Got a pry bar from the back and lifted this rack up. While with my other hand, I took the sleeve and pushed it in from the front. It'll go, but it's a trick trying to get it in there. And then just pull down on it and go up in there. And then you can use a pry bar and push it up in. Just wiggle up in there. Alright, and there it goes. There you go. Top one was a lot easier than this one. Okay, got it. Just throw those washers on there, and then we can put this bolt in. Alright, here's the washer. Make sure this little nub is kind of covered in grease, so it's a little hard to see. That nub is pointed in. It slips right inside of that sleeve that just got put in. And let's see if I can get that thing in there. Now that we got those bushings in and the washers on the top and the bottom, I get to put these bolts back in that hold the rack in place. Throw them around. Once they're in, on top of that, there is this washer, flat washer, and then the nut that goes on top. If you're having trouble getting this bolt in, grab a hold of the steering shaft, and that'll help you tilt. Let's see, tilt that rack back and forth, and that really helps that bolt get lined up with the hole in the bushing and stuff. One thing to make sure of is that those washers with the little nubs on them get seated down into the sleeves before you tighten everything up. To get those tightened up, there's a clamp right there, the 12mm bolt that gets mounted there. And over on this side too, it's right about in place right now. Just throw the bolt in from the top to that hole right there. Alright, got those bolts put back in so everything's nice and tight. Shouldn't be loose anymore. I'm going to get this grease cleaned off because I don't want to get sticky next time I'm under here, especially with all the dirt that'll collect on there. Get any covers put back on and you're good to go. Hope this is helpful. And all this job took me about 3 hours. I've never done it before, so that was without any experience trying to figure it out and also videoing it. So hopefully this is a little helpful for anybody who is attempting to do this job.